Here we go.
Ready.
Hey, once again, you have found yourself falling straight into Hella Vella. And we're here today on a Lawless interview with Kell Frillman, who writes Beechwood out on Vella. Say hi.
Hello. How are you guys? How's
How you
everyone
doing?
doing? Even though you're not seeing this right now yet.
Yeah, we got our technical difficulties ironed out and we're ready to go. So Kell, I'll ask you the first question I ask every Vellan out here, and that is, when did you start writing?
I was 10. Guilty confession, I read Flowers in the Attic. I was obsessed.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, I started writing my first novel.
Oh, excellent. When you were 10. I like that.
When I was 10. Yep. I thought I was going to be the next V.C. Andrews.
Flowers in
Guilty
the Attic
confession.
is a pretty rough one to start with when you're 10.
I was a little precocious.
I'd say so. I'd say so. I'm sure your parents wouldn't have let you read that if they'd have known.
Probably not, but they had no idea. They're like, oh, you want a book? Sure, go buy books. They had no idea.
Oh, yeah, idea. No. Parents just, they're clueless.
They were just happy I was reading. I don't think they paid any attention to what I was reading.
Yeah, it was the TV that they watched for, but they didn't monitor.
Yeah, they didn't. I don't think they thought to like censor books at that time.
Little did they know.
Oh yeah, nope.
Okay,
no idea.
So after 10, because it looks like you've matured a little since then. What else have you written? You know, what led you into writing for Kindle Vella?
So I have 3 novels out on KU as well. And then the pandemic hit and I got just a really bad writer's block, just all the chaos of the world just kind of on my brain. And I'm basically, my 3 novels that I have out currently are in the middle of a series, and I've been trying to get the 4th book written, but my brain was just not having it. And then I've had this other idea, a couple other ideas, like on the back burner for literally years at this point. And I saw something for Kindle Vella, and it was serial fiction. And I had thought in the past about writing for Wattpad, but I'm like, that's so much effort to put in for something that's out there for free that people are just going to steal and plagiarize. And I'm like, that's so much effort to put in for like nothing, and I was like, I love the concept of it. I'm like, I just don't want to invest in that, I guess.
Right.
And so this seemed like a perfect opportunity to kind of get back into, the idea of serial fiction, with it being a more valid way to spend my time than, and no offense to anybody that writes on Wattpad, this is just my personal, it's a totally personal thing. I was like, I'm just afraid that somebody would steal it because, it's just out there for the world to do whatever they want with it.
I totally get it. I'm right there with you. I can't do it. I'd like to think I'm a complete, altruistic individial, but it turns out I'm a capitalist.
The reality is we all have bills to pay. That's the reality. I wish it wasn't, but here we are. So exactly. I'm like, okay, well, if I can make a few bucks and actually, do something that I wanted to do for a while. And I think like writing an episode at a time and even getting like likes and feedback and stuff has really kind of kickstarted my brain back into writing mode after having writer's block for like 2 years.
Man, I'm hearing
so it's
that
just
a lot.
Really positive. Yeah, it's been a really positive experience.
Gives you some instant grat, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, like we all like that. It's just nice to know that, just nice to get that feedback.
Yeah,
as we're going along.
The last author that I interviewed, she was very new to Vella, and she hasn't even seen a bonus yet. So I told her, don't worry, you'll be like the rest of us. You'll have your eyes sticking out on stems.
Oh yeah. I'm not gonna lie, this morning I woke up and I'm like, let me check. Oh, not yet.
Well, so you've got your series out there. I've already said the name is Beechwood. And why don't you tell me about that?
I knew that was going to come up. I'm laughing because it's a little bit of a mixed genre, and it's kind of it's sci-fi, but it's also very character driven. It's where do I even start? So it takes place about 20 years in the future, and in our current day, there's basically this doctor with a god complex who is doing fetal surgery, who is injecting a synthetic growth hormone into the anterior cingulate cortex of fetal brains. because that is the part of the brain that's connected to like your limbic system and your prefrontal cortex. So in his theory, it's like, okay, so if I give this piece of your, part of your brain a growth hormone, you're basically going to end up being a superhuman eventually, is this doctor's thing. So fast forward 21 and like almost 22 years in the future, which the story actually takes place in, these children that were illegally experimented on are now young adults, and they've lived their whole lives essentially in sort of like a prison. Prison isn't really the right word, but basically locked away from the world because the experiments were outed and everybody was, freaked out about, what these people were going to be capable of. So the story, now that they're young adults and their brains are like close to the age of, like, your brain is always developing until you're 25. So now that they're closer to 25, the doctors are now starting to have wanting to do some further experiments on them, and kind of see, because they've essentially been like suppressing and drugging them because it was so unpredictable throughout their lives. And now they want to do some experimentation. And of course, then the head doctor in charge has nefarious plans for what to do with people. Of course. Of course. And so, but that's like the main plot, but there's a lot of moving parts and subplots, and it's very, very character driven. So it's more than just about like this whole experiment and everything else. It's about the people and what they're experiencing and what they're going through, both from like, so every chapter is like a point of view of a different character. And so there's like the people that are the victims of the experiments, their mothers who were also victims because they did not know what was happening when the doctor was doing this to them. Right. The scientists that are in charge of the whole thing. And then there's this group that this doctor used to work with the main doctor in charge, who split up with him several years ago because of ethics. And now he's trying to kind of stop him. And so there's just a lot of moving parts. It's going to be a very long story.
It was very revelatory when you said you were influenced by Flowers in the Attic. Because
that's one of the influences, yes.
Yes, it makes sense for the deep characterization. That's the part that made sense to me, was the deep characterization with like Flowers.
And that's definitely my writing style. I really like to get really deep into the characters and explore like their personalities. And I always find it really interesting, the whole concept of like, okay, so you think you're this person, but what would you do in this situation? And what does that say about you? Like, I love to explore like people in tense situations and who they really are at the core of it. So,
and see, to me, that is what serial fiction is all about, is developing these characters that people get to know and give a rat's ass about enough to continue reading for, hundreds of episodes, potentially hundreds of episodes. That's serial fiction to me.
And I've had this idea for years, but the entire reason that I didn't ever write it in a novel format is because there's so much more I wanted to do with it than you can really do in the way that you would write novels. Like, I wanted to explore so many different facets of it, and I'm like, that's just not going to work. And so this was the perfect opportunity for me to actually like start the story.
Right. So do you write, is Beechwood in the first person from all these different POVs?
No, it's in third.
Good. I like that. I'm seeing so much first person. I'm a third person writer.
Same. Yeah. My novel series is in first person, but that's just not going to work for this particular format. It's been a interesting experience actually, but it's been a lot of fun.
Oh, so are you normally a first person writer?
I fluctuate, honestly. Just it depends on the story I want to tell. My novel series is in first person because it's a lot about unreliable narrating. The character only knows what she knows to be real. And so part of the whole story is her discovering a lot of the lies that she's living among. So that works for that particular story because it as the reader starts the story, you're given the world and you're presented to English. I can speak, I promise. You're presented the world as you believe it to be, as this character believes it to be, and then you discover with her like what's really happening. But it really just depends on the story I want to tell, honestly, and how I want to tell it, and what the characters are needing to figure out about themselves and all their lives and their world. And
it's super interesting. I found that I found it challenging to go back and forth between first person and third person, but it works the muscle. It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
I enjoy that, but I've got to admire anybody that can do it with super ease, when I'm self-editing and I go back in and go, oh, you just really flip-flop back and forth a whole bunch right here between first and third person. Nice. So it's a challenge for me. So when were you first tipped off about Vella? What made you first aware of it as a platform and made you want to jump in with Beechwood?
I had gotten an email a while, like when it first started. And I just wasn't in a place at that particular time when I would have had the time to do it.
Right.
But I kind of like bookmarked the idea and I was like, oh, this might be a perfect opportunity for this story I've had on the back burner in my brain. And then one day I just sat down and started writing and I'm like, oh, you know what? I got to make the time. Because I want to tell this story. Like I really want to tell this story.
The characters are trying to get out of my head.
Yeah. It's kind of like that cliche thing, like, as a writer, when you're sitting there doing your own thing and then your characters are write me.
Yeah. You have arms sticking out of your ears and stuff. No.
But it was great because I had been blocked for like 2 years. So all of a sudden having this like super like the super inspiring like write me thing was just very refreshing.
Cool. When did you first start uploading to Vella?
Beginning of February. I started writing it in January and then February is when I launched.
You mean February 2022?
Yeah. Oh, Vella. I'm sorry. Did I misunderstand?
Yeah, Vella.
Yeah. Just this February.
Okay. So your series hasn't even been out a month yet.
No, it's March. So it's been out like a month and a half.
Okay. All right. So
I started the
very first part of February. So you've got
the very beginning of February.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you've got a whole month's performance. You're waiting to see what it did.
Yep. So I mean, I got my because I think I actually posted it on like January 30th. I got like a little tiny bonus for January, and I wasn't expecting that, and I was really excited. But I don't know what my February bonus will be like, so I'm excited to see that. Like I said, this morning I woke up and I'm like, wonder, but no, not yet.
Not yet. No, I'm not expecting to see it until tomorrow.
Yeah, probably
tomorrow or Thursday. Tuesdays and Thursdays seem to be some kind of key. I don't know. But I'm looking forward to you seeing that as well. So I won't ask you whether you've been happy with, how it's paying out, because you haven't seen one yet.
Not yet.
That's pretty cool.
I'm excited to see cool. Yeah, really. I mean, people's bonuses kind of seem to be all over the place, so I'm not really sure what to expect. But
well, there's a lot of different factors.
I got a lot of vet bills to pay.
There's a lot of Before we started recording, Kell shared that she's got 9 pets in there. I don't know if it's 9 dogs. Is it 9 dogs?
Actually, it's 9 dogs and 3 cats and a horse, but the horse doesn't live with me, obviously.
Well, he doesn't live in the house.
No, doesn't live in the house.
Well, I can certainly identify with being a pet lover, but and I
do animal rescue. Like that's what my day job is, quote unquote. So it's kind of comes with the territory.
Yes, it would come with the territory, which is why I don't volunteer anywhere. I would wind up coming home with, my house would have 9 dogs, 3 cats.
Yeah, it's
a couple of ferrets running around.
Definitely.
So do you have plans to, I think you already said yes, but this was before we were recording. You have plans for another series.
I do.
Want to tell me about that?
Yeah. So I'm launching it at the beginning of April. It's a vampire series called Bleed. It's sort of inspired by I grew up like obsessed with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, obsessed. And so it's sort of inspired by that, but it's darker, maybe a little spicy. Give that a try. Okay. But it's kind of about it centers around this anti-heroine vampire who is essentially she makes the point to destroy like bad guys. I mean, I go into more of that when you were reading, but The people that she chooses to kill are, generally people that are really bad people. That she's basically being followed by this detective who's on her case, but of course it turns into this dark romance love story. So,
Ooh,
yeah, it'll be
vampire detective
interesting.
romance. You think you'll have any pushback from calling it Blade?
Oh, bleed.
Bleed.
Bleed. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Bleed.
No,
y'all,
it's okay.
not Blade,
Bleed.
for God's sake.
Sorry about that. No, like BLEED.
I was wondering, I'm like, they're gonna slaughter her over this.
Yeah, no, would never do that. No.
Okay, good. Bleed. Well, that sounds good. I'm looking forward to seeing that. So when you write for Vella, do you find that you're writing in a different style? Are you writing in a serialistic style, or are you kind of adapting your novel writing style since you have written a few novels? How are you stylistically? How are you doing it?
I really, really love it because I feel like when I'm writing a novel, I'm really centered around like a main character and one really kind of overall main storyline. But with serial fiction, like I said, because it's episode by episode, and you can really make like your seasons as long as you want. I anticipate like the first season of Beechwood to be at least 200,000 words, and that's just gonna be the first season. Yeah, I'm already at 50K and like we're just starting the story. So.
That's a lot. I was going to ask you about your episode sizes. What's the average size of an episode of Beechwood?
Yeah, I do have a couple that are probably pushing closer to the 5,000, but then I've got a few that are like 1,000. So I can the way I write my episodes is like, so it's some people would call them chapters. Obviously, Vella calls them episodes, but like me personally, I call them scenes. And that's like the way in which I write them is like every episode is a scene. So some scenes might be longer scenes because that's just the way they are. But some scenes might be a conversation between two characters that doesn't need to be more than 800 words. Like that's the scene. And like there's a couple of smaller ones I've thought about piggybacking off of like my last ones, but I'm like, that just wouldn't make sense. Like, so my episodes definitely vary in length just based on whatever is happening in the story at that moment and what needs to be conveyed.
Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting. I think that's the first time I've heard that, or heard of episodes being thought of by the writer as a scene. Interesting, very interesting. I see them as like TV episodes.
Yeah,
which can go either way. It can be multi-scene or single, and so that's interesting to have it be per scene. So you don't know yet if you enjoy the monetary value of the monetary benefits of writing for Vella, but you have written for Vella long enough to see the platform, see what it is. If it was up to you, is there anything you would change about it? And if so, what would that be?
So the one thing that's really helped me with my novels is being able to like throw up those Amazon ads. Can we just have that for Bella, please? That would just, I know that there's 80,000 other things that you need to do to self-market, but that's just a helpful piece that has really helped with my novels. Just keeping them in the circulation, if that makes sense. On KU. And yeah, I would love it if Amazon would allow us to put out ads for our Bellas like that.
I agree. I wish they would allow us to market through them. That would be hands down the most effective way. To do that. So is that it? Is that all you'd change?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's a really fun community. I like the format in which it's like laid out for you. I like the freedom, and like you said, like authors have different ways of like writing and interpreting like every episode and how they're doing it, and I think it's really fun to have that freedom to tell, because you're really able to tell your story in your way and how you want to do it, and there's a lot of like leeway that like you said, I'm the first person that had said scenes, but like that's how I always have seen this in my head, because the way that I think about it is like, okay, so writing a novel is like writing a movie, and writing a serial fiction is like writing a TV show.
Yes.
Like that's like the way that my brain interprets it. And so that's why every episode is a scene. But everybody has their own like way of doing stuff, and you have the freedom to have that individualistic approach to how you're doing your stuff.
Right. And there are many, many thousands, tens of thousands of voices out there. And it's pretty cool.
Yes.
That we've got this kind of variety. So the next question I want to ask you is, do you read Vellas?
Oh yeah, I love it. I've actually I really enjoy reading the format as much as I do writing it.
So have you got any that you can share with us that you have particularly liked? I usually ask for 2.
Okay. Dark, love it. Very Stephen King vibey.
Are you
that's a
talking
great
about
one.
Tears?
And
Tears of Hawkins?
Yes.
Oh my God, yes.
I wasn't gonna say her name because I was afraid I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but
Tears, yeah.
Great. Yes.
Oh,
and that's a great
God.
Vella. That's really good.
I've privately told that kid that she's the next. She's Stephen King. She's right.
Yes, it's total Stephen King vibe. Total Stephen King vibe. It's amazing. I'm like, it's like Dark is like the Langoliers meets I don't know what, but it's really good. Like I really like it.
Yeah,
so that's a good one.
Got to read Spider Sight too.
Oh, I know it's on my list. I keep meaning to get to it, but I do have a vacation coming up this week, so I'm going to get a lot of reading done. Yay!
So we've got Tears and Dark.
So there's that one. If I can only pick one other one, there's a lot of good ones out there, but Raining Embers. I've really been liking that one.
Raining like REI.
Yeah. Raining Embers. It's kind of a fantasy story, but it's very interestingly written, and you can't quite tell if it's like young adult or if it's going to get darker, which I like because it's kind of teetering on that edge of like, where are you taking this? Like, and so then I keep reading because I want to know.
Excellent.
So so that one's been a really fun one to follow.
Okay, that sounds good. It's a new one. That's why I like doing these interviews, is I like meeting you guys, first of all, meeting all my fellow authors out there, and then just hearing about what you like to read. I go check these out. So, I'm asking for a reason here.
Yeah, definitely check them out. This one is really good, and it's kind of a hidden gem. I don't think a lot of people know about it yet, but it's really good, and it's worth your time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Now, Dark, I already know. Tirza is the horror scream queen.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm going to definitely be following her career with great interest, because she's definitely bubbled up to the top of my list. So you've already told me what you would do to change Vella, which is not much, just to make advertising available. I think that's a no.
Yeah, I think just making it more visible. And making it more visible and just making advertising for authors just a little bit more accessible the way that you are when you're in KU and stuff like that. So
that would be cool. That would be very cool. That would be one I would definitely get behind. So is there anything that you would like to say to your readers who will be clicking in the links that I'll put down in the description of this video, where you can get to her Beechwood series? And if she lets me know with a private message when she updates that sucker and we get bleed out there, it should go in the descriptions as well. So what would you like to say to them before they click on that stuff?
If you like your characters a little edgy and you can give some characters a chance that come off really bad at first, just know that they're either going to be redeemed or they're going to get what's coming to them eventually, but you have a lot of patience because there's a lot of story to tell.
Excellent.
So, yeah,
I like that. You've had I've had 2 really good answers to this. That was one. The last one that I really liked, when I said, what would you tell them? She said, if you don't like the first thing you read something else, because they're all different.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah,
read another one of my things. You'll like it. There's something for everybody.
Right, something will pop up for you. Yeah.
Well, Kell, I've had a great time talking with you, and this is going to be another Lawless interview that I hope everybody enjoys watching, and we're going to continue to put them up, sometimes 5 and 6 a week. And I just love talking to every one of you. It's a lot of fun. And I hope you will join us on the next Hella Vella Zoom call. I remember you were on the last one we did.
Yep, and, I should be.
We're just having a lot of fun building this community together. So This has been great. Thank you for your time, Kell.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye, everybody.